Cole had traveled the desert many times, but today felt different from the moment he stepped into the burning sand. The sun above seemed angry, sharper than usual, and the wind felt like it carried fire instead of dust. The horizon wavered like boiling water, making everything look twisted and strange. Even his horse, Dusty, kept shaking his head and breathing hard, as if the heat pushed at him from every direction. Cole pulled his hat lower to protect his eyes, and he whispered to Dusty that they only needed to reach the river camp before nightfall. But even as he spoke, the air shimmered, and a strange feeling crawled across his skin. It felt like the desert was alive, watching him, waiting for something. He rode slowly, scanning the wide, empty land. The desert was usually quiet, but today it seemed quiet. No birds, no insects, not even the usual wind whistles through the cracked rocks. Just stillness. A heavy, strange stillness. Cole did not see her at first. He only noticed something lying near a dry bush because Dusty stopped suddenly and refused to move forward. The horse lifted his head, ears turning in worry. Cole followed the direction of his gaze and saw a shape that at first looked like a bundle of cloth. But the moment he stepped closer, realized it was a person, a woman. Her skin was flushed from the heat, and her breathing was fast and shallow. Her dark hair stuck to her face, and her arms trembled as she tried to push herself up. She managed to lift her head slightly, but then she fell back to the sand, as if the weight of the sun pressed her down. Cole dropped to one knee beside her. His voice was gentle as he asked if she could hear him. The woman tried to speak, but only a whisper came out. He leaned closer. "It's too hot," she whispered. "Help me before I collapse." Her voice carried desperation, not fear. She was simply suffering, losing her strength in the burning desert. Cole immediately reached for his water canteen and helped her drink slowly so she wouldn't choke. The woman's eyes closed from relief as the water touched her lips. She drank as if she had been wandering with heat for hours. Cole could tell she was Apache by her clothing and jewelry. Her necklace had a pattern he recognized from nearby tribes, a symbol of earth and sky unity. The Apache people knew the desert better than anyone, so if she had collapsed here, the heat must be far beyond normal. She opened her eyes again, and Cole finally heard her name. Nayeli. He helped her sit up against a rock, giving a little shade. Dusty the horse stepped closer and snorted softly as if sensing she needed comfort. Cole placed his coat around her shoulders even though the heat was intense. Shade was more important than his own comfort right now. "It feels wrong," Nayeli said quietly. "The desert. It is not like this. Something beneath the ground is waking." Cole had heard stories of the desert changing moods, but nothing like this. He told her he would take her to shelter. She tried to stand, but her legs shook too much. So Cole lifted her carefully, supporting her weight. When her hand touched his arm, she felt how hot his skin was from the sun. She whispered that even he should not stay out here long. Cole just nodded, determined to get them somewhere safe. As they moved, Cole noticed something strange. The sand around them glowed faintly red, like embers buried beneath the surface. It wasn't bright enough to be dangerous yet, but bright enough to be wrong. He felt a burning sensation through his boots, and he pulled Nayeli closer. Nayeli looked down and her breath shook. "The ground is burning because the old spirits of fire are waking. My people could feel it. That's why I came out here. But I did not expect it to be this strong." Cole didn't know anything about spirits, but he knew danger when he felt it. The sand felt hotter with every step. If they stayed in the open, neither of them would make it far. He scanned the land and spotted a rocky area in the distance. He remembered there was a cave there. A cool cave that travelers sometimes use for rest. He decided they would head there. Dusty followed behind them, keeping close as if he also sensed the urgency. The heat seemed to grow stronger, pressing at their backs like a wave pushing them toward the rocks. The red glow in the sand flickered brighter, as if something underneath was moving. By the time they reached the rocky slope, Nayeli was barely conscious. Cole half-carried her into the cave. The inside was cool compared to outside, and the air felt normal again. Cole helped her lie down, and she finally breathed easier. But something else immediately caught Cole's attention. Deeper inside the cave, the walls changed color. Instead of rough stone, there was smooth metal hidden beneath layers of dust. A faint hum vibrated through the floor. Cole went closer, brushing sand from the surface. What he saw made him step back in shock. A metal door, not shaped like anything built by local tribes or settlers. The lines were too perfect, the edges too clean, and the glow beneath the metal looked like energy, not fire. Cole had only seen things like this in stories about strange lights in the sky. Nayeli slowly sat up, following his gaze. Her eyes widened, filled with something between fear and understanding. "Our elders warned us about this place," she whispered. "They said the sky once touched the earth here. They called it the sleeping light beneath the world." Cole felt the hum beneath his feet grow slightly stronger. He placed his hand on the metal door and felt warmth, steady and alive, like a heartbeat. The moment he touched it, the faint glow brightened. A low vibration passed through the cave. Nayeli gasped. "It hears us." The ground trembled softly. Dust fell from the ceiling. Even Dusty stepped back toward the cave entrance, frightened but unwilling to leave them. Cole moved in front of Nayeli without thinking, shielding her with his body as the metal door began to shift. Lines of red light formed patterns across the surface like veins waking up. The air in the cave warmed, but not like the dangerous heat outside. This heat felt controlled, deliberate. The door slowly slid open, revealing a chamber inside. A chamber made of metal walls that curved like the inside of some ancient machine. The hum grew deeper, echoing through the cave. A column of light rose from the floor inside the chamber, pulsing gently. Nayeli clutched Cole's arm. "My people always feared this. They thought something dangerous slept here. Something too strong for humans." Cole stared inside with wide eyes. He wasn't sure what he was seeing. It didn't look like anything from Earth. Not a mine. Not a cave. Not something humans built. Yet here it was, buried under the desert, for who knew how long. Cole took one careful step closer. The chamber responded by pulsing faster. The column of light brightened, and the warm air around them changed into something heavier, more intense. The glow outside the cave became stronger too, as if the desert itself felt what was happening. Nayeli whispered that the ground would soon grow hotter, and they needed to understand what this chamber was before the heat became too much. Cole didn't know how to understand it, but he knew that leaving the cave while the desert burned was impossible. The chamber made a soft chime, almost like a voice trying to speak. Cole felt something like a gentle pull, as if the machine wanted him to step inside. He hesitated, but something told him he had to know what was happening. If the desert was changing, maybe this machine was connected to it. He took another step. A bright flash burst from the column of light, and the chamber walls lit up with symbols neither of them recognized. The trembling ground grew stronger, but the chamber seemed stable, almost protective. Cole turned back to Nayeli. Her eyes reflected fear, but also trust. She told him he must be careful. She said humans were stronger than they knew, and maybe the chamber sensed that strength. Cole didn't understand why she believed in him so suddenly, but he felt responsible for her. Responsible for whatever was waking beneath the desert. Cole stepped fully into the chamber. The moment he did, the entire cave lit up as if someone had set the air ablaze with light. Dusty cried out from the entrance, and Nayeli shielded her eyes, calling out for Cole to be careful. The chamber pulsed once slow and bright like a giant heartbeat, and then everything went still. The ground stopped trembling. The hum inside the chamber grew soft. The glow outside the cave disappeared completely, as if the desert had taken a breath and calmed itself. Cole stood frozen inside the chamber, his heart pounding in his chest. The light dimmed slowly, leaving him standing in the faint afterglow. Nayeli ran to the open doorway, stopping only when she saw. He was unhurt. The look in her eyes was clear. Whatever woke inside that chamber had noticed Cole, and it was only the beginning. For a long moment, Cole did not move. The strange chamber around him slowly dimmed, and the warm pulse from the light faded to a quiet glow beneath the metal floor. He breathed softly, trying to understand what had just happened. Nothing had touched him. Nothing had harmed him. Yet he felt something inside him shift, like a whisper of energy brushing his thoughts. Nayeli stood at the edge of the chamber doorway, fear and relief mixing in her eyes. She called Cole's name carefully,
Ow!
as if she worried that speaking too loudly might disturb whatever lived inside this ancient machine. Cole stepped out slowly and she touched his arm to make sure he was real and unharmed. Dusty the horse peeked cautiously from the cave entrance, ears high, watching everything. Cole said he was fine. But Nayeli asked what he saw. Cole shook his head because he did not know how to describe it. The light inside the chamber had felt alive. It had reacted to him, almost like it was reading him. He told Nayeli it felt like the machine looked into him as if it wanted to understand who he was. Nayeli's eyes lowered in thought. Her people had stories about sky beings who came long ago, leaving behind sleeping lights and silent guardians. Her tribe never touched such things. They believed humans should not disturb the secrets of the sky. But now the desert was heating. The sand was glowing and something under the earth had awakened. Maybe everything was happening because this chamber had sensed someone near it for the first time in many years. Cole walked further into the cave, looking again at the metal walls. The same hum from earlier returned, soft and steady. He placed his hand on the surface, and the metal warmed gently, responding to his touch. At that moment, the symbols inside the chamber lit again. Glowing faintly, Nayeli called out for him to be patient. But before she finished speaking, a soft sound echoed inside the chamber, sound like a calm voice, though no words formed. It was more like a tone, a note, something speaking through sound instead of speech. The cave walls shook gently. Outside, a wave of warm air swept past the entrance. Like a sigh from the desert itself, Cole stepped back as the chamber reacted again. A shape began forming in the light. Not a person. Not a creature. A tall figure made of bright lines and soft glow, almost like a spirit shaped from light itself. The figure did not have a face, but it had a shape that resembled something standing upright. Watching them, Nayeli covered her mouth, whispering that the sky spirit was awake. The light figure did not move aggressively. Instead, it remained calm, floating a few inches above the chamber floor. The soft hum from earlier grew deeper, changing into a slow rhythm like a heartbeat. The figure tilted slightly toward Cole, as if studying him. Cole stood still, unsure if he should step back or speak. Without words, a gentle beam of light stretched from the figure and touched the ground near Cole's feet. It did not hurt him. Instead, it filled the cave with a faint warmth, as if the figure was giving a message. The glowing beam formed symbols on the stone floor, symbols that slowly arranged themselves into shapes Cole could recognize. Not words. Pictures. Simple pictures. Easy to understand. The first picture showed a strange craft in the sky, shaped like a silver leaf, landing on the desert long ago. The second picture showed human figures standing beside tall glowing beings. The third showed the glowing beings giving something to the humans. Something bright, possibly technology or knowledge. Nayeli stared at the symbols with wide eyes. Her people always believed the sky once touched the earth. But no one imagined the old stories had truth hidden inside them. The symbols changed again. Now they showed fire rising in the desert, not from humans. From deep underground. The glowing beings in the pictures tried to place something beneath the earth to stop the fire from spreading. That something looked exactly like the chamber they were standing in. Cole understood what the symbols meant. This chamber was a protector. A machine placed by ancient sky beings to keep something dangerous under control. But the chamber had been asleep for too long. Whatever it was meant to hold back the deep fire was waking again. The figure of light dimmed for a moment, and then a final picture formed. The fire under the desert rising toward the surface, the chamber struggling to contain it. And then a small human figure, standing with a glowing figure beside him. Together, they stopped the fire from spreading. Cole's breath caught in his chest. The picture was clear. The chamber needed a human. Not just any human. Someone brave enough to step inside. Someone who could connect with the ancient machine and help it control the heat rising below. Nye turned toward Cole with a soft, almost fearful expression. She whispered that the spirit had chosen him. Cole did not feel chosen. He felt confused and overwhelmed. He rubbed his forehead, trying to understand why a machine from the sky would reach out to him. A simple cowboy who spent most of his life caring for horses and delivering supplies. The chamber pulsed softly, as if encouraging him. The light figure's shape flickered gently. Cole felt a quiet warmth fill the air around him. Not hot, calm, peaceful. Before Cole could speak, a sudden rush of heat swept into the cave. The sand outside glowed red again, this time brighter than earlier. Dusty neighed loudly, stepping back in fear. Nayeli grabbed Cole's arm, telling him the fire was rising faster than before. The light figure flickered, growing brighter, showing the images again: the fire, the danger, the need for someone inside the chamber. Cole knew what it meant. Whatever was happening outside, the chamber needed help now, or the entire land might be in danger. Cole inhaled deeply. He did not want to leave Nayeli alone, but he knew she would be safer in the cave than he would be if the chamber collapsed. He took her hand gently and told her he needed to try. Nayeli's eyes filled with worry, but she nodded. She believed in him. She trusted him more than she trusted the strange machine. Cole stepped into the chamber again. The moment he did, the door slid closed behind him, sealing with a soft thump. Nayeli gasped softly, but she did not run. She placed her hands on the outer wall and whispered for him to be safe. Inside, the chamber glowed brighter. The column of light rose, surrounding Cole in a warm, steady glow. The symbols on the walls shifted rapidly, showing him pictures of underground tunnels filled with hot energy. The machine wanted him to direct it, to help it release the heat safely, so the fire would not erupt through the surface. Cole did not understand machines, but the chamber seemed to understand him. Whenever he hesitated, the light pulsed gently, guiding him toward the correct symbols. Whenever he felt confused, the walls slowed their shifting so he could understand. Outside, the red glow in the sand intensified. Nayeli ran to the cave entrance, watching the desert pulse like a living thing. She placed her hands on the earth and whispered an old prayer, asking the spirits to protect Cole. Dusty stood beside her, restless but loyal. Inside the chamber, Cole pressed his hand to the glowing wall. The entire room illuminated. Underground, the fire shifted. Instead of rising, it began spreading sideways, dispersing into long tunnels deep beneath the earth. The machine used his steady presence to guide the heat away. He could feel a soft energy flowing through him, not burning him, just connecting him to the machine. The chamber pulsed faster. The heat beneath the desert faded slowly. The red glow outside the cave dimmed. The trembling in the ground softened. Nayeli watched it all, tears filling her eyes. She whispered Cole's name with hope. Minutes passed. Maybe ours. Time felt strange inside the glowing chamber. Cole felt tired, but not weak. The machine helped him stay steady. It guided him until the last surge of underground heat faded away. Finally, the chamber released a soft, calming chime. The symbols on the walls dimmed. The column of light lowered gently back into the floor. The door slid open slowly. Nayeli ran inside before the dust even settled. She stopped only when she saw Cole step out, breathing heavily but smiling faintly. She helped him sit against the wall, offering him water. Cole thanked her softly. Outside the cave, the desert looked normal again. No glowing sand, no trembling ground, just warm sunlight and quiet wind. The light figure appeared once more inside the chamber doorway, smaller now, as if fading. It bowed its head slightly toward Cole, then toward Nayeli. Then it dissolved into soft sparkles that drifted into the chamber walls. The hum grew quiet, settling into a peaceful silence. Cole and Nayeli watched until the last bit of light faded. They did not speak for a while. There was nothing to say. They had witnessed something older than their world and helped save the land from a danger few people would ever understand. Cole finally stood up. Nayeli steadied him. Dusty walked over and pressed his head against Cole's shoulder, as if telling him he had done well. Cole laughed softly and rubbed the horse's neck. Nayeli said the desert would remember this day. She said the fire had been guided back into sleep because a human heart had stayed steady. Cole smiled and said he only did what anyone would have done. Nayeli shook her head and told him not everyone would walk into a glowing chamber without fear. They stepped outside together. The desert air felt cool for the first time in days. The sky was calm, the wind soft, and the world quiet again. Cole looked at Nayeli, then at the wide desert stretching out before them. He said, maybe the sky spirits chose the right place to leave their machine. Nayeli nodded, saying maybe they chose the right human too, and together.